ADA option, which is really good because that is always, if you look for grants, they want ADA access. So we have gone out and applied for some other grants with this. So we're hoping that this will be competitive in the future to maybe have this be one of the things that comes out of this. So that's an aside. The Logging Road Bridge, we had all kinds of ideas for this. But I think the consensus for the Logging Road Bridge were on several levels. Again, being consistent with the lighting themes, kind of light the bridge with the same sort of pedestrian scale lighting that we currently have in the downtown. If we have fencing across the top, the base fence should match the fence that we now have at the fairgrounds, and that we're also going to continue on 99, or the First Avenue redevelopment project. So that also ties in with continuity, which we showed there on the bottom. Also with the colored section of the roadway to just sort of catch people's eyes, say, wow, we're coming up to something that's interesting here. Various discussions on what sort of things we should have on the bridge that would attract people's attention. There was quite a bit of interest in various types of metal art. I think it started off with like look at the dowels, and then we started looking at all kinds of things, and we have metal workers and businesses in town. We thought, we could probably come up with a pretty good artistic projects with existing businesses in town and do something exciting. And so, but connect it to sort of the Canby the garden spot theme and to make it sort of an intuitive feeling. Also to incorporate the stonework that's on the event center, the new sign there, that was really attractive. And the bridge is kind of ugly. I hate to say that, but it is kind of ugly. Our existing bridge is just plain Jane. So one of the simpler things that we thought could dress it up and be cost effective would be to put, maybe match that stone on the bottom of the bridge and just dress that bottom of the bridge up a bit, and then do some creative uplighting. So at night we could also have it lit at night, so people would be driving and you could still see some very attractive feature here. So those are the major elements that everybody agreed on. The thing everybody wishes to have, of course, is beautiful Canby Garden spot landscaping. The ginormous gorilla in the room is how do you maintain the landscaping? So everybody agreed they want it. Everybody agreed that it would accurately reflect Canby the Garden. It's a great thing, but somehow we have to figure out how to keep it growing and making it look nice, because the last thing on earth you want is to kind of have it look like a weed patch. So that, of course, we'll have to figure out how to do that if the opportunity arises, which I'm sure it will probably arise. Let's see. This is the gateway that there's still a lot of discussion over. And I can tell you at the Planning Commission, this is the Bird Parkway gateway. And you can see it's a strange configuration at the moment. What came out of the initial discussion and the initial recommendation was this sort of median that could have street trees, but probably nothing else, and maybe colored pavement to give sort of a protection for people that wanted to cross there. And this got quite a bit of support, which I was kind of surprised about. But then at the Planning Commission, even though they said, okay, that's fine, we'll look at this, their suggestion was, this is probably a bigger fish to fry than this actually can address. And that they felt like when future development happens on the north side next to Panda Express, the Walgreens side, there's quite an open expanse there that still is to be developed. When that develops, it might be more appropriate to do a better look, a better traffic analysis of this, and at that time, fix that intersection so it actually functions better. So, although the Planning Commission moved it forward as is with a very minor amendment, not even concerning this, but more of the verbiage on the goal statements. I think that's not a bad idea, and we should probably consider whether this is something we want to sort of bump this to a future development time, where we can maybe really solve this in a good way, because I'm not convinced that this is probably the best solution, because I don't think this configuration lends itself to any kind of great solution. The only thing it does do is it does help, according to who you talk to, the crossing situation, to make it maybe like it serves as sort of a refuge island for students that might want to cut across here at that intersection, as opposed to go, or go west, to the Bird Parkway right.
Well, Matilda,
Yes.
that particular configuration, I've always thought it solves the problem of the kids crossing 99, but it adds to the problem of that road
Yep.
configuration there. Of they have more streets to cross and more
I know.
potential to get hit by
I
cars
agree.
making right
It's
turns.
just
And
a sloppy kind of
it's bad. It
solution.
needs to move east. To
Yeah,
where
and
the
I tend to
development-
agree with that, and I think there was a lot of discussion about, yeah, we want to do something, but look, that's really not quite right, and so it might be something we should consider for a future, to just say, maybe what we should have here is say, at this intersection needs to be resolved as future development comes in, we need to step back a little bit and really make this a better intersection. So the things that came out of that, what's left of that, is basically that little wedgie that is currently, has Welcome to Canby and the little China hat lighting and stuff, is, we could probably do, we have anything, we didn't have anything on that. I guess what we were going to do there is just, the only other thing we could do is put the pedestrian type lighting that we currently have downtown to make that feel like, okay, you're coming in to the downtown again, here's the same type of lighting, here maybe here's a bollard or something like that. But that's probably a better solution in the interim than maybe this configuration. And so that's probably something tonight you folks would want to decide whether you want to even go there or not. So basically, we've seen this a number of times, so I guess I'll just open it up, and without just going on and maybe just ask any kind of unresolved questions that you might have, or be happy. By the way, this woman sitting behind me just said such nice things about me. I did not ask her here to say those things about me. I asked her here just because she is going to be retired, and this is a project she worked on, and she was wonderful to work with, and she offered to be supportive of this, come here and answer any ODOT type things, and I thought that was terrific. So, but I do appreciate the fact that I have worked with her a lot, and it's been a great partnership with ODOT, and I hope it continues with the new person, and we're meeting on Monday. She's shepherding the new person in, and we're all having a meeting, so.
Okay, just I'll open up the stat, or to,
I've got a couple comments. I appreciate your looking at and considering a change of the concept of that crossing area down by the Panda Express area, and looking at a practical solution that is really a better one. There's another spot that I hope when the implementation comes about that you can do the same thing, and that was down at Locust Street with the theoretically pedestrian crossing
TSP.
there. If you did a traffic study, pedestrian study, like you do a traffic study of cars, you'll see that Knott and Juniper have far more pedestrian activity than Locust does. And with the limited development across Locust, the Hulbert area, it's such a sliver of property that once you get the setbacks, because their building's only about 10 feet off the highway, if they redevelop, you're going to have a fairly narrow, long something there. And I still think that the pedestrian traffic safety areas and things is much better suited down at Knott Street, because that's where the people are.
I think that in the transportation system plan, that said somewhere between Ivy and Pine, there needed to be something. Locust was a suggestion,
Okay.
okay? They just said somewhere, that was based on public input, that said, we need something between Ivy and Pine to get across here.
Yeah.
So I think that's a perfectly fair thing to say. We just suggested, well, Locust is a place, but it could be somewhere between Ivy and Pine, and it very possibly could be that Knott would be a more appropriate place for that. So I think that was, the issue at hand was somewhere there needs to be something,
Yeah.
so people don't have to go all the way to Pine to try to get a safe crossing. And so, yeah, I think that's a perfectly reasonable thing to say, is that let's see that there's a better, and certainly you can do pedestrian observations there. That wouldn't be difficult to do all, actually.
Thanks.
Okay. Go ahead.
Oh, thanks. So can you expand on where we're at with the boom arms for the traffic lights?
Well, where we are now is that ODOT had two pieces of property that they had worked a long time with the property owners to come to an agreement about the easements needed in order to, they have to move some of those arms in order for the big arms. And so that is now, I believe, resolved, so that should be happening very soon.
Okay.
Very soon. They've been waiting to just have this be resolved, and the property owner, I had asked Brian if we would write a letter assuring them that there was a sign issue, and as it turned out, when we all looked at it, the buck is not going to really be a big issue. So we think it's all worked out.
Okay.
So I think the thing is going forward.
And I couldn't recall in here if we've had discussion on cleaning up the power line issue as well as we go through redevelopment over the next 20, 30 years of this project of undergrounding power.
You're
That would
talking,
be-
the
Those
big
are
lines are
transmission
not,
lines.
they're PGE lines, and we can't touch those.
No,
That's,
they're
but
too
the
big
lower-
to go under.
okay.
yeah, they're,
But
the
the
big
lower
metal
stuff,
ones, and
okay.
stuff, yeah, that would cost millions to get it through town.
Don't want to do that then.
Yeah.
Million a block.
What we can do.
So the ones that we have
At the
the ability
intersections
to,
there,
okay.
that will make a pretty big difference. I mean, we get kind of used to them, but I went out and took some pictures of them, and I was like, wow, that is kind of a mess. I don't notice them anymore, because I'm here all the time. But I think it will be a pretty significant improvement to just clean those intersections up, and take all the crisscross wires out.
Maybe that's what, I mean, I guess that's what the boom arms and stuff will correct some of that. So I think that's, that lower lighting, lower lines are, I think, what I was more thinking of, not the larger power lines, but that's all the traffic light stuff. Okay.
So can I follow up on Brian? Once the new signal light or signal boom arms are in, is that going to allow a better radius, right turning radius in those
We
Ivy in
asked
particular?
particularly for Elm for that to be considered, because we had Wilson Construction and some other folks that said, and
Oh.
plus just taking pictures of trucks going there is a difficult maneuver. And they have their, and I'm missing the latest drawings, but the first ones I saw, they are positioning the arms so that that can be reworked.
But it's not part of the project?
Well, they're not doing road work
Okay.
per se,
All
but
right.
what they're doing is locating it and running the radius so that it can accommodate future development to allow it to happen, so it doesn't interfere again in the future.
Right, okay.
And
Like
so that's a good thing.
It can be car wash. If you look at where the pavement is, or where the sidewalk is, they're gonna put the pole behind where the planters are now. So and they've already moved the big sign at 7-Eleven, so that at some point we can take and make that corner better too. So it's, the other side is Ace Glass is the big issue in right now.
It was really good that we had that conversation, because otherwise that really would have been a stumbling block in the future for us to ever accommodate those turn.
This came up about 4 or 5 months ago, and I did talk to several of the directors at ODOT and the manager of ODOT, and I actually put it on hold for a month or two while we were trying to work through with other people. And I guess at this time, the business owners and property owners have agreed that, and the staff has agreed that a setback will not affect what they do with their property at a later date. Because there may be some issues of the corners being a little close to a building. We basically said, we'll leave it alone and not do anything with that. So they're not going to be
I think
impacted.
all worked out.
So I think it's,
Well, if you go to put the bollards you're talking about at the intersections, on those square intersections, you're going to be replacing bollards on the
this don't have to wait until they make the rounded
trucks
corners.
running
Oh,
over.
maybe you
So-
could put bollards and skip the middle one or something. I mean, I think you could still pull people's eyes around.
Maybe those intersections will be done sooner than later.
I had one question.
Go ahead.
I remember fuzzy memories of discussions about those signal poles possibly changing to a custom paint job color, or we're not going down that road, are we?
Well, that would be us, here's what happened with that discussion. We kind of got into this discussion at the 11th hour. They had to be ordered if we were going to do it, we had to pay for it. And plus, then we had to pay for any time it got nicked or dinged.
Right.
It was on our dime, and since it made us kind of nervous, and it's like, ooh, we didn't, now if we order them, they're gonna be way out there, and then we're gonna have to take on that responsibility, and we thought, well, it might just clog the whole thing up, the project might not go forward, and then we looked at sort of the black ones, the green ones, and the, kind of these aluminum, you know? I don't know what that is, aluminum. That aluminum is nice and clean, so we thought maybe that wasn't the place to start throwing the monkey wrench in, because we got kind of in the discussion, sort of at the 11th hour, and we didn't really have any money or anything to throw at it, and then they said, on your dime you can do anything. And then it became, oh.
Our dime's real thin,
Maybe
though, so
It's a smaller dime.
our dime is
Big
only worth
bracelet.
about 7 cents now, so, okay.
The aluminum still is going to be a tremendous improvement, it'll be nice and clean.
Okay.
I think the preference would have been to have maybe a black powder-coated, if wishes were horses, and we'd gotten into this whole thing early on, but where we didn't have all that financing figured out and all the maintenance stuff figured out there, we just sort of said, no, we really want this to go forward. We don't want to do anything to kind of stop the project.
Okay. That's what I wanted to hear. Thank you.
Any more questions?
That's all I
How
had.
about down here? Go ahead, Tim, Greg?
I'll just make a statement here that a lot of you know that I got into this council seat out of an interest to make 99 beautiful. Before you do that, you need a plan. We have a plan. And I'd like to thank everybody who participated, especially Beth Doolittle. There was one thing, she and I were going head to head on how pretty we could make this street. And she said, you got to remember that this is an avenue of commerce, and I've kept that in mind as we've gone along. She told me, you can make this as pretty as you want, Greg, but make sure it's still an avenue of commerce, and I think we've achieved that now. The next part is to go on and implement it, and you know, my heart is in first attacking the Logging Road Bridge and seeing how gorgeous we can make that.
Walt?
No, if we're talking about changing the color of the poles, rather be as much discussion as we've had trying to cover what we're going to do with the bridge.
That's true.
So,
Okay,
yeah, more power to leave them aluminum color.
Let's see, I can ask for public comment before I close the public hearing, right? So if there's anybody that would like to come up and address the Mary Ninjagewi, please come on up to the podium.
Sonia Kazin, Senior Planner, Oregon Department of Transportation. I just wanted to talk to you a little bit about how these improvements might get built in the future. As you know, federal and state and local transportation dollars are projected to go like this. The state had some big bonding measures, and now Piper's due. We're paying those off because of mileage improvements in gas. The gas tax revenue's gone down with the economy. ODOT and is looking at options for maybe having a mileage kind of gizmo you put in a car, because with electric cars, and you know, we're just not getting the revenue that we need to maintain and improve the system that we have. Most of the roads that we have now were built for cars, period. Very little accommodation for pedestrians or bikes or bus pullouts or anything. And ODOT's funding comes down from different federal funding pots, so we have a statewide inventory of paving conditions around the state. And so we look at those lists and we say, oh, okay, 990 in Canby is bad enough now, so it's going to get on the list. Or we
Thank
have
you.
another pot for operations. We have a minute pot for modernization and enhancement, and it's very competitive. We had some different funding programs for bicycle pedestrian, another one was called transportation enhancement. Some of the different federal programs for transportation enhancements have gone away. We're really sad to see with this new MAP 21, which is the next 2-year authorization, they took away the whole scenic byway program, National Scenic Byway. So, you know, it's tight all around. And so ODOT has a process right now called the Enhancement Program. And every 2 years, when we update our State Transportation Improvement Program, local jurisdictions can apply to do projects on a state highway or on a local facility that are above and beyond just paving or putting a traffic signal. And so I encourage you to keep track when that, you all get notified when that comes around. One of the important things to show is, one, you have a plan, which if you adopt this, you'll have a plan, and that there is political will to do these improvements and community support, and that the community can have a match. So that's always required. There's a minimum, I think it's 10 or 11%. So if you have an urban renewal district, if they prioritize this area or the other projects, that's what we're going to need to see, is that this is important to Canby. But just, you know, it's great that you have a plan, but it probably won't happen tomorrow. So just tempering it a little bit. So. Do you have any questions?
I'm encouraged to hear that potholes on 99 has been figured out. It's not an effective traffic calming device.
And just to let you know, we've applied for 3 of those grants. And the logging road bridges, the bike thing is one of them, Ivy, South Ivy, and Northeast. They're all, we've gone into that program, and they've all been approved initially as qualifying. So now they're in the mix of all the other ones to see if they can, and if we will, at least we've done the applications and so.
Right, and for matching money, we did in our last budget this year, put about $600,000 of URA money away for intersections, or what we feel is the best use of the money to improve the community. So we don't have to spend it, but if a project does come up on an intersection that looks like it's a good way to do it, I would hope everybody will look at it and say, let's spend some of that money.
And one of the things, this plan has an implementation strategy and some ideas. For instance, if you have a property redeveloped, typically the property owner does the frontage improvements in front of their site. Well, you can't do 50 feet or 100 feet of this new boulevard design. So if you can institute a process where you collect fees and lieu, you can assemble those funds, and then when you can use that toward your match and do more whole, you know, to help make the projects whole. So.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks for your time over the years. Okay, at that point, is there anybody else that would like to come up? If not, I'm going to close the public hearing. And take a motion.
It's later in the agenda.
Well, we can do it now.
You want to do it? I'll do it.
Let's, okay.
Actually, Craig, do you want to make the motion?
I don't have it in front of me. Go
Okay.
ahead.
I would move adoption of ordinance number 1368, an ordinance adopting the Canby or OR 99E corridor and gateway plan, amending Canby's comprehensive plan text, transportation system plan, and Title 16 of the Canby Municipal Code.
I'd like to second that, Mayor. Thank you.
Okay, it's been moved by Councilor Ayers, seconded by Councilor Parker, to adopt ordinance number 1368, an ordinance adopting the Canby OR 99E corridor and gateway plan, amending Canby's comprehensive plan text, transportation system plan, and Title 16 of the Canby Municipal Code. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Passes 6-0. Okay, great, good project. Okay.
Thank you, Tilda.
Okay, now we'll go to resolutions and ordinances. Sue? Resolutions? We're at 11. Yep, 1146.
Oh, sorry. This is just a motion to adopt resolution 1146 to accept the results of the November 6th, 2012 election, proclaiming annexation of the city of .79 acres, described as tax lots 1100 and 1101 tax map 4S1E4 4D located adjacent to and west of the 1600 block of South Ivy Street, and setting the boundaries of the property to be included within the city limits.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor,
Question, conversation?
I move we pass Resolution 1146, a resolution accepting the results of the November 6, 2012 election, proclaiming annexation into the city of .79 acres described as tax lot 1100 and 1101 of tax map 4S, 1E, 4D, located adjacent to and west of the 1600 block of South Ivy Street, and setting the boundaries of the property to be included within the city limits.
I'll second. Oh.
Okay, it's been motion by Councilor Daniels and seconded by Councilor Hensley to adopt resolution number 1146, a resolution accepting the results of the November 6, 2012 election, proclaiming annexation into the city of .079 acres, described as tax lots 1100 and 1101 of tax map 4S-1E-4D, located adjacent to and west of the 1600 block of South Ivy Street, and setting the boundaries of the property to be included within the city limits. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Passes 6-0.
147 is the pink, is the sheet attached to the pink sheet. And it just through the cracks this year is the Canby Swim Club arrangement with the pool. It's their annual thing that we renew every year. So we just squeezed it in.
Okay.
According to the
Thank
year.
you.
Mr. Mayor, I move to adopt resolution number 1147, a resolution adopting an interagency agreement between the City of Canby and the Canby Swim Club Incorporated.
Second.
I have a question before we take the vote. I recall this, discussion over past years, but this isn't an evergreen contract. In other words, this doesn't automatically renew. We take action every year.
You guys have to take action every year.
Every year.
It
2
usually
years.
happens in June.
Okay.
But for some reason it fell off the planner.
Okay, so I didn't see, and I haven't read real thoroughly tonight, but I haven't seen that it clearly states that it's through June 30th, but it does.
No, I think the dates, I think Eric made the dates different. I think
She
it
seems
says on
to
the front, starting in
reflect now.
September. Yeah.
Ending August 31st,
Ending August
2013. So it basically is retroactive September 1st, 2012, and ending August 31st, 2013.
Okay, so
on
it's not a fiscal year agreement, it's a, okay, thank you.
Generally
That's fine.
it is, but it didn't get passed in June for July, to start July 1. So, because we forgot to get it on the agenda.
Okay, it was moved by Councilor Hodgson. Who seconded? Or did it?
Second.
Hensley?
Henry.
Okay, it's been moved by Councilor Hodgson, seconded by Councilor Hensley, to adopt resolution number 1147, a resolution adopting an interagency agreement between the City of Canby and the Canby Swim Club. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Passes 6-0. Ordinance 1365.
Any discussion and take the motion, please?
We can take the motion here, I guess, and then we'll just have discussion. Get a motion?
I would, well, I assume we're looking at 1365?
1365, yes.
Okay. I'll move adoption of ordinance number 1365, an ordinance amending Title 16, Chapter 16.41 of the Canby Municipal Code concerning the sub-area boundary of the Canby Downtown Overlay Zone.
Second. Moved by Councilor Ayers, seconded by Councilor Dale, to adopt ordinance number 1365, excuse me, an ordinance amending Title 16, Chapter 16.41 of the Canby Municipal Code concerning the sub-area boundary of the Canby Downtown Overlay Zone. And this is second reading?
This is second reading, so I need to do a roll call vote. Counselor Ayers?
Yes.
Did you have discussion
Did we
first?
have a
Oh.
discussion?
Yeah, we
I'm
want to
sorry.
have some discussion.
Oh,
We got some
Yeah,
discussion.
that's certainly appropriate.
It is.
We have discussion, go ahead.
Well,
So,
we did have split vote last time.
I don't have any.
okay.
Good.
I'm okay.
Yes, I have some discussion. Each counselor had received a 280-page packet of evidence that had been presented to the Planning Commission. The task before the council is the Planning Commission's recommendation for denial of this text amendment to this business overlay, not design review. The council was given material that nothing had to do with what we were supposed to decide that night. A lot of it was design review, which we should not have considered. The staff report showed the site was in the downtown overlay zone, the core commercial zone, allowing the fuel station, but the overcore commercial would not allow this fuel station. Core commercial was geared for pedestrian-oriented development, and this proposal conflicted with that. The Planning Commission recommended denial by 3-1, that this was an existing high pedestrian area zoned R2 to the south and east. The council needed to consider where downtown should begin. The core commercial required pedestrian-oriented design, and other commercial allowed more than auto-oriented design. The boundary was not set arbitrarily, but near locus because it was the first point where business was seen on both sides of the street. There'd always been an entrance sign to the community that had been marking the arrival of downtown area. Mr. Brown stated that the intent of the regulations was to get the quality of development in this location. The speed limits also transited to lower speeds in the downtown core for safety. Regarding Mr. Abel's comment of the need for change, the public had input in this plan through many meetings and public hearings, and they did get it right. Just because it has been remained vacant for a long time doesn't justify for a change in the overlay. The Planning Commission held 2 public hearings on this issue, went through numerous and thoughtful deliberation. Remember, a pedestrian core overlay was a pedestrian-oriented zone. An outer highway, which for auto-oriented zone use, would create more traffic. Any changes should be done through the process summary of the process that was used to create it, instead of a single application for single use. Tonight, we considered a recommendation from the Planning Commission on the Canby, Oregon 99E corridor and gateway plan. This plan sets forth streetscape, gateway design elements that reflect the city's Canby, the Garden Spot theme, to enhance motorist awareness as they transition from rural to urban Canby and support Canby livability. If we choose to overrule the Planning Commission, on what basis? We either accept their findings or denial, or else come up with our own findings. If we overrule the Planning Commission, then we must come up with our own findings, which are the criteria which was on the wall last week. First item on the list was, is there a need for this facility? The purpose of the core commercial was pedestrian. The proposal was auto-oriented, not pedestrian-oriented. The council must consider the objectives of the downtown overlay and unique sub-areas in the comprehensive plan for this portion of the highway. I urge you to vote down TA 12-01-ZC 123-2 and remand it back to the Planning Commission.
Thank you, Walt. Any other discussion? Counselor Dale? Okay, it'll be a roll call vote.
Counselor Hensley? Oh,
Ayers.
sorry, Counselor Ayers?
Yes.
Counselor Hensley?
Yes.
Counselor Hudson?
Yes.
Counselor Daniels?
No.
Counselor Parker?
No.
Counselor Dale?
Yes.
Passes 4-2.
Mr. Mayor, may I make a comment real quick?
Go ahead.
Walt, I appreciate you preparing the statement you did and laying a stake in the ground on the issue. I really do. You and I, when we had coffee, that was a big piece of our conversation was your piece on that and where do we look at where downtown begins and whatnot. And so I appreciate you sometimes being the earlier on being the lone vote is tough to do, and so I appreciate you taking the position on that.
Okay. Ordinance number 3, or 1367.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Marvin Trammell is here to talk about that. If you have questions,
Sure, we've
Wake
got
up,
lots
Marvin.
of questions.
It's only 9:05, guys.
we've got a board saying the meeting will get over at 10.
This is ordinance that's basically authorizing a contract for the Kennedy and Jinx Consultants to provide engineering for the Stormwater Master Plan. And if you look through the synopsis, we talk about the last master plan that we did for stormwater was in 1994. Most master plans are only a 20-year. We're at year 18, so that's one driving force for the new stormwater master plan. A second one is in those 20 years, we've seen a huge shift in the regulatory oversight of stormwater. So in order to comply with all the regulatory demands from the DEQ and EPA, we're going to need to do another stormwater master plan. And so basically, we went out on a QBS process, qualification-based selection, and we chose Kennedy and Jinx. We negotiated a contract that we feel is fair and equitable for the citizens of Canby, and I'm bringing that forward to you today so we can start the stormwater master planning, and we'll utilize that master plan to actually develop a stormwater management plan, which is how you're going to, sample and maintain your system throughout the city. And I'll be writing the majority of that with some work from the consultants. So I'm hoping and recommending that the staff approves and adopts ordinance 1367 so I can move forward.
Council.
Staff to approve that?
I want the council to approve it.
Oh, staff's already recommended. Staff recommends. Are there any questions that you might
Let's see,
have?
go ahead, Rich.
Question, how many firms did you consider?
We actually went out for an RFP, and we had interest of about 8 that had communicated with me, and then at the final, we ended up only getting 4 of the major engineering firms that do this type of work. Canby's kind of unique, where you've heard of UICs, underground injection control devices. We're a small town, and we have about 365 of them, and we really had to take a look at what firms have a real background in dealing with the new regulatory requirements on those UICs. And there was really about actually 2 hydrology firms and about 3 or 4 of the major firms in Portland that dealt with UICs. So that was really a high consideration when we went out for the RFP to make sure that we got the firms that we needed that knew how to do that type of work. In other words, a firm from Washington or a firm from Idaho probably is not used to the Oregon regulatory type community. And so that's why we did the qualification-based selection, so that we could get the right people to do the job. And the impacts of this master plan and the management plan has the potential to save the city of Canby extreme amounts of money. You're looking at saving millions of dollars if we do this right. So it was very important to get the correct engineering firm in here to do the work. And Kennedy and Jinx did all the prior work for like City of Portland and Gresham. So I'm real comfortable with their ability.
We don't use somebody like these guys. EPA and DEQ can come in and make our rules for us.
Well, they're going to make the rules.
Well, I mean,
anyway.
they enforce the rules like they want to. and put it
Correct.
that way, so.
And what we're looking at is a real hydrology plan where the old, let's say the old regulatory burden was that if you had a lot of these UICs, they were actually going to make you dig them all up and replace them. And one of the newer type of modeling that they've done, an environmental type modeling, is to say, these are acceptable if you have the right type of soils and you have the right type of depth in soil columns, that we're going to use hydrology and modeling and science to basically say, hey, these UICs are acceptable. They're not going to have any impact on our groundwater and our drinking water supplies, and that we prefer to leave some of them in rather than dig them all up. And so that's a huge cost savings for the city of Canby with the new regulatory ruling going on, that we can actually not have to dig all these up. Because we looked at costs of digging 100 of these up of the 300, and we were looking at about $160,000 a piece. And so that would be quite a burden on the citizens of Canby. So I chose to go a different route and try to utilize science so that we can actually prove that these are acceptable in the type of soils that we have. So I'm telling you, this is probably one of the most cost-saving things the city's ever undertaken that in the long run could prove to save the city literally millions of dollars.
Well, if we don't have the storm drains, we'd have to put in a storm line, wouldn't we?
Absolutely.
So then we have to dig up all the streets. We've just been trying to...
You're going to be running
yeah.
storm lines everywhere and down to all the, we only have, we do have the rivers, but we don't have anything interconnecting in the center. And the city is almost at build-out, so that means we would be putting storm lines running down all the major roads and stuff. And when you start doing that, it was, we were estimating about $160,000 per UIC for decommissioning. But we hadn't moved the water yet.
Right.
So you could be looking at $10 to $25 million.
Okay, Walt, go ahead.
Are we allowed to put in new wells?
Yeah, actually, with the new regulations that's coming with the WPCF permit, if you have the right type of soils, if you have the right distance between groundwater and enough soil column in between the UIC and groundwater, that you're not going to impact groundwater, and you don't have any drinking water wells within like 500 feet or 2-year time of travel, you'll still be allowed to use UICs. I would still recommend trying to encourage low-impact development. I just did that, the low-impact development design standards recently, and so we always want to encourage low-impact development whenever we can, but in some cases, UICs will be an acceptable alternative for discharge of stormwater. Absolutely.
I'm okay. No.
Greg, I just wasn't sure.
I just wanted to give a shout out to Robert Bitter, that when I took over his position on the council, he said there were two things he wanted to make sure that continued. One was Main Street program, and the other was that we got a stormwater plan in place. Stormwater is probably the second least sexiest thing in municipal world, only followed by wastewater. But if you try driving on 3rd and Pine during a good rainstorm, you'll understand what those initials UIC mean. It means an overflowing dry well. So part of us becoming a modern city that doesn't threaten its surface water is to have a way of dealing with this. So, Robert, here we go. This one's for you.
Yeah. Walt?
You talked about the term low impact. Is that related to low density?
Well, no, low-impact development is where you're utilizing other forms of getting rid of your stormwater other than UICs or going to surface discharge. That would be bioswales, infiltration trenches, infiltration ponds, pervious pavement, those type of alternatives, utilizing those to get rid of your stormwater rather than just piping it to a surface discharge like Molalla or putting it into a UIC, which is, a 25-foot deep basic hole in the ground. So
That does fill up.
they do fill up. They're only good for so much capacity.
Can I ask a question? You mentioned permeable pavement. How is the permeable pavement sections that we put in recently, how are they working? Knightsbridge Roads comes to mind.
Actually, what we've seen from the public works side is we really think it's very effective. And you can only utilize it in certain areas. You don't see it out on traffic areas where it will compact.
Right.
You have to make sure that you have a good maintenance program where you're going to use a good street sweeper and you're going to sweep those streets so that the sediment doesn't get down into the voids and into the cracks and seal it up. So you have to maintain it a little bit more. But if you've ever noticed Knightsbridge, if you go down there on a real rainy day and you look into what's going in, we did put some overflow so that the system still would, if it did get plugged up, could overflow. You hardly see anything going into those catch basins. It almost takes 100% of the heaviest rainflows that we have. And we're utilizing that pervious pavement in other areas where we might have capacity issues with let's say we have a functioning UIC that's not functioning well, it's plugged up with sediment. Or we have a neighbor that's got some flooding issues. We have gone in there and cut away along the parking area and put in 200 feet of that pervious pavement, And it's really helped a lot of situations where we did have minor flooding in the housing districts and stuff. So I think right now, Public Works is, is feeling that it's been
Good.
very good. And it's gotten better. The first stuff wasn't as good as they are. They just keep coming up with a better formula for making this stuff. So it's getting better all the time. So we're happy with it. And we're going to utilize it more often.
Any other questions for Darvin?
No, I just want to make a comment, though. Darvin stated that this was a qualification-based selection process, and then we negotiated price. And if you're ever going to buy a car, take Darvin with you. Because I'm telling you, that price there is well below what they started at, and the scope expanded exponentially. I mean, so Darvin did a great job.
How many hours is it roughly?
I forgot, 20, there is an hour cost on it, 4,000? No,
To do the whole thing, it's 6 months.
6 months.
We'll be at this for 6 months. I
You
have
guys
to
see-
have the master plan
So-
to DEQ by July 1. So we're going to start, hopefully, upon your adoption, we will start in January, and this will take us about 6 months to complete the master plan. And if you've done stormwater master plans or ever been involved in them, 6 months is a very short time frame.
Yeah.
And so there's going to be some work that the city employees will be doing. I'll be working hand in hand with the engineering firm, and there's going to be a lot of work. We're going to be doing some of our own surveying work. Chris Getz, one thing I would like to comment on is that Public Works, Dwayne Barnes purchased a really nice bunch of survey equipment that we really had no staff utilizing, and we weren't utilizing. And I think it was around $40,000 worth of surveying equipment and GIS technology. And to save money on this, Chris has gone out there and educated himself on the unit, and he's doing a lot of surveying for us in GIS. And then we also have Angie Linhart in the planning, which is going to be working with Chris Getz, and they're doing a lot of the mapping and GIS work. So we actually are utilizing some of our staff and some equipment that was sitting in a shelf, not doing anything. So there's been a few other good things that have come out of this master plan. We've actually training some employees in mapping and GIS work. So.
Very good.
I think this time of year, you'll have the water table to be able to spot the problem areas.
Well, we are assessing the whole system. So that's one thing we are doing out, is we're going to each UIC, to each dry well and catch basin. We're actually, not only at the same time, we're developing a maintenance program, which will be part of my management plan, is we're looking at the depth of sediment. I mean, some of these UICs have never been cleaned, and I've been working for you guys for 27 years, and I don't remember cleaning any of them. And so we're actually taking a look at the depth of sediment while we're out there doing the GIS work. He's doing location, he's doing depth of sediment, he's doing an evaluation of the actual construction material, whether it's broken, needs replaced. So there's going to be a whole lot coming from this master plan, not just the master plan. There's going to be a stormwater management plan, there's going to be a decommissioning plan, there's going to be an actual maintenance plan coming off this work. So
Great.
Good job, guys.
thank you very much.
Mr. Mayor? Move for ordinance number 1367, an ordinance authorizing the mayor and city administrator to execute a contract with Kennedy Jenks Consultants in the amount of $104,000 for engineering and consulting services to complete the 2013 City of Canby Stormwater Master Plan and declaring an emergency.
Second.
And moved by Counselor Dale, seconded by Counselor Hodson, to adopt ordinance number 1367, an ordinance authorizing the mayor and city administrator to execute a contract with Kennedy Jenks Consultants in the amount of $104,000 for engineering and consulting services to complete the 2013 City of Canby Stormwater Master Plan, declaring an emergency, coming back on second reading January 2nd. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Passes 6-0. Thank you.
Second reading on December 2nd, and then the next discussion point.
Okay, that takes care of all the resolutions and ordinances. New business, we are discussing if we need to have another meeting on December 19th, or as we have in the past, take a cancellation and everybody have one extra Wednesday night close to Christmas to be able to spend time with their families.
Shop locally.
Yeah.
And shop local.
Do we just need a consensus on that?
Yeah, I believe so. I don't think we need this one
No,
either.
there's a formal motion.
Is there a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I move we cancel the meeting on December 19th.
I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved by Counselor Daniels, second by Counselor Hodgson to cancel December 19th, 2012 meeting. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Passes 6-0.
I think it's a good idea to officially cancel that so we don't open the meeting hall to not have a quorum.
That's right.
With that motion being said and passed, that effectively makes this Counselor Daniels' last meeting as counselor, so I want to...
Second of January.
Well,
Second.
well, as counselor.
We start, no, we
we
open
Oh,
the
you'll
meeting
open the meeting,
on the second,
okay.
and then we
Well, I
go.
still want to thank him for his
We got lots
service.
of
I'll do it
business.
twice.
Line up for January.
Yeah,
Good idea.
okay,
It deserves two thank yous, so I'll do it again then.
no problem. Any city administration business?
I got just a couple of quick things. First, I want to jump on the Matilda bandwagon here. I think I sent out a notice to the council, the mayor and the council, about a grant that Matilda had applied for. I think it was a $75,000 grant. Well, they insisted that she take $93,000 or something.
Quit
to
twisting
that
your
effect.
arm, will you?
Yeah.
Yeah, how's that work? I saw
She
that.
learned something from Darwin.
So I just wanted to say that
Yeah.
on camera.
Right.
Let
Yeah.
the public know that, good things are happening. So she's gotten quite a few grants like that. I want to pass this around. We, staff, talked to, we did a pricing and order of our bonds for the projects, the Sequoia Extension Project, the refunding of the bonds project, actually refunding the bonds, and then the library project. And this is kind of the net proceeds and how it works. And I want to specifically, at the top of that page, you'll see that the principal amount is $14,050,000 for that we have to pay back. Our net proceeds, however, you'll see is $15,056,000, which is $1 million more than what we have to pay back. What happens is when you sell and price bonds, if the investors like your bond very much, they will pay a premium. They will pay, instead of $1 at par, they'll pay $1.16. Some of these were $1.16 instead of $1. So par value $1, they paid $1.16. The net effect was we're getting $1,129,000 that we don't have to pay back. It is a premium, and we get to put that towards the project. So, in effect, we've got extra money. We don't have the extra $1 million. What I'm saying is that is what goes towards the projects. The projects are up around the 14.9 million. So it's not that we have extra money to spend, it's just that we have less to pay back. The net, what they call the true interest cost of this project, or this bond issue, was 2.85.
Wow. Isn't that astounding?
2.85.
That's incredible.
Yeah, it's amazing. I just, anyway, I wanted to show you some of the expenses that we paid, and some of those expenses came out of that 15 million too, or 15 million also. And some of them are set prices. And so another thing to point out is, by wrapping all of these issues into one, the refunding, the bridge, the library, we saved probably about $180,000, because it's about $60,000 just in set cost. You know, I mean, attorney's fees, it doesn't matter if it's $1 million bond or $12.
Yeah.
They charge so much for that paperwork. So by wrapping this together, there's probably a $75,000 savings right there, because this issue, they charge us $25,000. That's attorney cost. So
Money well spent.
money well spent, absolutely. So we also took out insurance on this, and I brought that to the council, talked about that at the agency, we talked about that. Our premium on that was $80,000, but the net savings is almost $133,000 over the life of the bonds by having that insurance. The refunding, I think I came to the council and said that we're going to save $189 by putting this together. That's, when I came to you, that's what the interest was. The savings would have been $189. The true savings was $276,000, almost $277. So wrapping that all up, the entire savings on this is about $589,000 by doing that. Plus we got an extra $1 million because this was a very popular issue. Like I said, investors were paying $1.16 for a dollar value, par value. They're paying a premium so they could get these bonds.
It does show that Canby, it basically has their act together pretty much on urban renewal district to make sure that everybody realizes that we're a good risk, if you want to put it that way.
Well, and I was hopeful that when we decided to buy the insurance policy, that is the almost total assurance to the purchaser of the bonds they're going to get repaid. If we have a San Bernardino or a Stockton where the city goes under, which isn't going to happen, but if it did, there's that insurance policy that's going to step in to cover the bondholders. And my hope was that we would get down in that low 3% range on the interest rate, and it came in at 2.85. I was just floored when it came in that low. That's the good news for the city of Canby. It's a signal of what the bond market is like for investors, because it's retirement accounts like mine that are buying bonds like those, and to be buying that long of a term of bond for under 3% is just unheard of.
And I was told they're extremely nervous about January 1st, too. So investors are taking 2-3% because they don't know what's going to happen, so.
Certainty is always better in their minds.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
the insurance policy, I think, was the kicker that put it over the top for us.
And in fact, Moody's rated us at A2, the same as we were last year. And I don't quite understand this, but reading something from Moody's, I think the insurance company, and because of the insurance, it rated us at AA3, which is a better rating than A2.
That's as good as you can get.
That's really, So by having that insurance, it's almost...
Did you say AA or triple A?
Double A.
Oh, okay, triple A is the...
Yeah, triple A is as good as you can get.
But that's still,
Double A
that's
is
unheard of.
still good.
Well, it also shows that Canby's going to be able to do a lot with that money in the next, 5 to 25 years, whatever it takes, or 20 years, whatever it takes to pay everything off to make a better community for everybody, too.
Actually, the term is 21 years.
21 years, okay.
Yeah, with the call option at 10. And you have to, federal, I think, requires 10 call option.
Well, but getting that low of a rate, it helps us that we can, hopefully we're in a position we can pay the bonds off sooner, because your payment, your principal payment is so low that you can, your interest
High.
is so low that you can add to the principal and get them paid down, shorten the term and get the thing back on the tax rolls.
Yeah, I didn't think we'd beat 3%, but we're almost at a point where we are guaranteed that over the course of using this money, we're beating the cost of inflation.
Oh, yeah.
That for the materials that we're purchasing, that were we to wait for them, we would be paying in future years more than this rate of interest.
That's right.
So I think it's a good investment. I think it's neat that we have people wanting to invest in our town, that Canby is a place that they want to invest their money.
Anyway,
The timing was perfect, so.
A job well done.
we planned that, the time.
Yeah.
Right.
All right. Anyway, thank you. I just wanted to
Thank you,
pass that
Greg.
on.
Okay, we have one more time for citizen input, if there's anybody would like to come forward.
Mr.
Come on up.
My name is Bob Cornelius. I'm a citizen here in Canby, and I try to attend as many of the city council meetings as I can. And I want to take this opportunity, since it's the last meeting of the year, to thank you, the mayor, and all the city councilors, the city staff, and all the city employees for giving of their time and making Canby the wonderful city that it is. Thank you all very much. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.
Merry Christmas to you,
Bob,
Bob.
thanks a lot for your time on Canby. Bob, thanks a lot for your time on the Canby Utility Board, too. So. We have action review.